April 2016. In a quiet room at Cedars-Sinai, a legend was crumbling. Sir Tom Jones sat by the bed of the only woman he had ever truly loved, his wife of 59 years, Linda. She was the one who told him it was time for her to go, but she left him with a command that would define every night of his life since. She said, "You have to carry on." Days later, despite the crushing weight of grief, he was back on stage, his voice trembling but his resolve unbroken. Because she ordered it, because he promised. Their story didn't start in the lights of Vegas or the mansions of Bel Air. It started on a wet, gray street in the coal mining town of Pontypridd, South Wales. In those smoky halls, Tom wasn't a star yet. He was just Tommy Woodward, the kid with the voice that could rattle the windows. And in the corner, Linda was always watching. Proud. Certain. Thomas John Woodward was the son of a coal miner. Life was hard, industrial, and predictable, until he met the girl who would change everything. They were just kids. Childhood sweethearts who attended the same local dances. Tom fell for Linda when they were 12. He described her as the most beautiful girl he'd ever seen. He pursued her for years. It wasn't until they were 15 that she finally agreed to a date. By then, they both knew this was more than just a teenage fling. By 1957, the world was changing, and so were they. Married at 16 and 17, Linda was 8 months pregnant. They had no money, but they had each other. To support his young family, Tom took every job he could find. He worked in a glove factory, he worked in construction. But at night, he sang in the local pubs. Money was tight. There were nights when the cold seemed to seep through the walls, but Linda never doubted him, not once. She was his first and most loyal fan. Success brought them to Vegas, the city of lights, the city of sin. For Tom, it was a playground. For Linda, it was a world she never quite felt at home in. Linda believed in his voice long before the record labels did. She was the one who told him he was destined for greatness, even when the rest of the world wasn't listening. She stayed home with their son, Mark, while Tom hit the road. It was the beginning of a pattern that would define their entire lives, Tom in the light, Linda in the shadows. By the early 60s, the local boy from the valleys was starting to make waves, but no one, not even Tom, could have predicted what was coming next. In 1965, the hurricane hit. It's Not Unusual catapulted Tom into global superstardom. Suddenly, the kid from the valleys was the most famous man on the planet. The affairs were public and prolific. Most notable was the high-profile fling with Miss World Marjorie Wallace. Tom's world was a whirlwind of glamour and temptation. He became a global sex symbol, a man whose every move was watched. He was the voice of a generation, the man who brought the soul of Wales to the world stage. No matter how far he traveled, he always came back to her. She was his touchstone, the one person who remembered him before the world claimed him as their own. But as the world clamored for more of Tom Jones, Linda began to pull away. She saw the fame not as a gift, but as a barrier that was slowly rising between them. Superstardom came with a heavy price. The public infidelities were well documented, the headlines were brutal. Tom claimed to have slept with hundreds of women a year. Any other marriage would have shattered under the weight. Linda was hurt, she was furious, once even leaving Tom black and blue. But she never left. She was his anchor. Tom admitted his fun and games were many, but he always maintained that his marriage was rock solid. Linda was the only person who truly knew the man behind the myth. But Linda wasn't passive. Tom admitted she once chinned him, leaving him black and blue after reading about his infidelities. She was the one woman he truly feared and respected. In 1974, to avoid the heavy UK taxes and start a new chapter, they moved to Los Angeles. Tom chose a house that he thought would make Linda feel at home. He carried her with him in every performance, every interview. Even when the headlines were cruel, he knew where his true north was. He knew who held the keys to his heart. But the move didn't bring the peace they hoped for. Linda became increasingly reclusive, suffering from agoraphobia and depression. The mansion became her world. Any other marriage would have shattered under the weight. Linda was hurt, she was furious, once even leaving Tom black and blue. But she never left. She was his anchor. 59 years together, a lifetime of fame, a lifetime of secrets, and a love that somehow endured despite everything the world threw at it. But the end was approaching. In early 2016, the news they had always feared finally arrived. Linda was diagnosed with lung cancer. It was short, fierce, and devastating. In the 1980s, their son Mark took over as Tom's manager. He became the bridge between his parents, helping to stabilize the family and the career that had nearly spun out of control. Tom immediately canceled his Asian tour. He flew back to Los Angeles to be by her side. The world knew something was wrong, but they didn't know how final it was. For 10 days, Tom and their son Mark never left her side at Cedars-Sinai. Tom described himself as a basket case, unable to process the looming silence. But Linda was the calmest person in the room. She was the one who provided the strength, even as her own was fading. She was preparing him for the end. She looked at him and asked, "What do you think you'll do now?" Tom admitted he didn't know if he could ever sing again. He feared the music would die with her. She gave him a command that would save him. "You've got to. You can't fall with me. I've got to leave, but you don't have to, so don't crumble." She told him not to think of her dying, but to think of her laughing. She wanted him to live the life she was leaving behind. She wanted him to keep singing. On April 10th, 2016, Melinda Rose Woodward passed away. Tom was a broken man. He described the silence in their home as deafening. He didn't know how to exist without her. He sold the mansion in Bel Air. Every corner was filled with her memory, and it was too much to bear. He moved back to London, fulfilling her final wish of returning home. He sought professional grief counseling. He had to learn how to navigate a world where Linda wasn't waiting for him at the end of every tour. He had to learn how to be alone. But the hardest part was the music. He feared that if he tried to sing, the words would get stuck in his throat. He feared that he would crumble, just as she warned. But he remembered the promise. He remembered the command. He stepped back into the light, and when he opened his mouth, the voice was still there, stronger than ever. In the quiet hours of the London night, he would talk to her. He would tell her about his day, about the music, about the promise. It was his way of keeping her close. Returning to London was bittersweet. He was back in the city Linda loved, but the home they found together was a shadow of the one they had built over 59 years. In 2021, he released Surrounded by Time. It was his first album since her death, and it was a masterpiece of grief and resilience, a tribute to the woman who shaped him. The track I Won't Crumble With You If You Fall is a literal interpretation of her deathbed request. It is his public promise to her, set to music. He says he can barely perform it without weeping, but he does it every night, because it's the only way he knows how to keep her with him. On the set of The Voice, the world saw a different Tom, quieter, more vulnerable. He often spoke of Linda, his voice thick with a grief he no longer tried to hide. Today, in his 80s, Tom Jones is still on the road. He says he feels Linda in the room every time he sings. She's his audience of one, always. He isn't just singing for the fans or the fame anymore. He's singing to fulfill a vow made in a quiet hospital room in Los Angeles. He's singing to keep her alive. Every song he records now is filtered through that loss. He searches for the truth in the lyrics, the same truth Linda saw in him all those years ago in Pontypridd. Despite the sex bomb persona and the wild years, Tom has made it clear there was only ever one love of his life, and that was Linda. He has no intention of ever remarrying. 59 years, one street, one promise. It's a love story that defies the logic of superstardom, a testament to the power of a vow made in the face of the end. What's the longest promise you've ever kept? How do you honor the memories of those you've lost? Share your story in the comments below. We'd love to hear it. In 2006, he was knighted by the Queen. Linda was there, a rare public appearance. She was proud of her Thomas, the boy from the street who became a sir. And if you want more untold stories of the legends who shaped our world, subscribe to Tom Jones, The Untold Stories. Join us as we dive deeper into the history of music. He walks onto that stage every night with the weight of 60 years of history. And every night he keeps that promise. He doesn't crumble. He sings. Thank you for watching. Watch these related videos to dive deeper into the legends. See you in the next story. Night after night, the promise is kept. The promise wasn't just about singing. It was about living, about finding beauty in the shadows and keeping the fire of her memory alive in every breath.